To the Art of Hobbiness. I'm Erin, joined by my lovely co-host Tam.
Me!
We are so excited to be back, and today we're talking about an article we read that we found. It's called How to Move Past Mom Guilt in a World That Thrives on It. It's by Jessica Willen. It was a very interesting article. I really, really enjoyed reading it and like diving into this topic. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There were a couple of lines in there that we'll get to that really stuck with me. Yeah. And I know that we talk about mom guilt a lot on this show because it obviously plays a big part in kind of hindering a lot of us moms from trying to explore hobby time, right? But, you know, I guess just diving right into it, right?
Let's do it.
Dive into the article.
Yes.
So the article kind of opens with like really just defining what mom guilt is, right? Which, first of all, is like very persistent. I think all of us can agree that we feel it the moment we become moms, right? Like you instantly feel this guilt of, you know, not being readily available for your children, not being readily available for your partner, right?
For your work too, showing up for your work,
right? You just are, you want to make sure that you're doing it all, right? And it's interesting because she brings up in the article, is this something that is a personal thing? Like, is it something that we've created, or is it something that society has put out there, right?
Right. And I think she goes on to say that, I mean, it truly is society putting this pressure on us, and we've internalized it. And, you know, mom guilt is kind of this vague feeling of just always feeling this pressure on you. You're not really sure where it's coming from. You kind of start to feel a little crazy at times and like lose your mind almost. And like what you're saying, you have all these, it's that mental load, right?
Yes.
Trying to do everything. And I think she said in the quote, I really love this quote, be ever present but independent and be selfless but successful. It's like the world is telling us we need to be all the things. Yeah. And that's just an impossible task.
It's a Barbie moment. Yeah. Like that article, it's like, do you remember that scene in the Barbie movie where she's trying to break the Barbies from the kingdom? Yes. She's like, you have to be this, but not this.
Absolutely.
You have to be this, but not this.
Yes.
And it's a very real feeling. And the reason why we all laugh hysterically during that part is
because it's so true.
That is exactly how we feel. Like, you know, she's putting it into words for us, that we feel that we have to do all these things, but not, you know, to this standard. And we've got to fight this battle, but not this way. Like, it's just an all-consuming thing.
It is, yeah.
And if we kind of look at mom guilt in relation to hobbies, like put it in specifically into that realm, hobbies require us to take a moment for ourselves, typically away from others, specifically our family, to pursue something of interest for us, right? And I think that's the big thing that is the tough part for us, is we feel, as millennial moms, we feel guilty for taking that time. Definitely. And we feel like we're almost wasting that time, because that time is something that can be used to help improve something within our children's lives, help improve something within our home, helping improve something with our husband to make his life easier, right? Yeah. Or your partner to make their life easier.
All the things.
Work.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I think that's, I think most of us hit a wall at some point, and you're like, wait a minute, where's my time? Where did I go? And then that's when that guilt comes in, because you feel like you shouldn't be allowed to have that time, and
you have to earn it.
Or you have to earn it. Yeah, exactly. That is true. We feel like we have to do all these things before we can have our time. And it is such a hard mental shift to put yourself first. And we've talked about it so many times on this podcast about how if you don't put yourself first, you're gonna burn out. You're going to not show up the best for your kids and or for your family and your work. You just like, you have to prioritize yourself. And but you're working against this thing, this pressure that culture has put on you your whole, like, has trained you to be for your whole life. And so it's like, how do you get out of that? How do you push back and be okay with taking that time for yourself? So I think one tip is like starting small. Like we've always said that. I mean, you can't just jump into a weekend getaway or
no, don't do it. It'll shock your system. Which is the go-to though, right? You're like, if I'm just
all or nothing,
away from everybody, then I'll do it, all the things I want to do. But then you get there and you're like, well, I guess I can sit in my car and eat a cheeseburger.
Right.
Because that's pretty easy.
Or you feel guilt, like you're like, oh, I need to go home because I need to be with my, you know, are things okay at home?
Right.
Is everybody's missing me? I need to get home. I feel bad, you know. That guilt can be overwhelming.
Well, so you talked about a little bit about going to the cultural aspect of all of this, right? Like before we go into helping, like kind of offer like the encouragements and how to fix it, like the cultural piece is, you know, we specifically speaking to the millennial moms grew up in hustle culture, right? And we talk about that all the time about how that is a really difficult thing to fight because even in that hobby realm, you feel like, okay, so you're one of the moms who's like, no, I've got hobbies, but then did you monetize your hobby? Because I'm willing to bet you probably did right out of the gate because you felt like you were wasting your hobby time if you didn't make it valuable, if you didn't make it something that could benefit your family or yourself as a whole, to kind of justify taking that time. You're still trying to justify it, right? Now you do have those unicorns out there who have just figured out the hobby realm right out of the gate. But for those of us like me and you who didn't find that, that was some of the factors that we fought against.
I think now too, like we didn't grow up with social media, but now we're dealing with the comparison culture too.
Oh my gosh.
So we've got that extra load of like, you see these pages of moms that seem to be doing it all perfectly and like managing it all, and you're like, oh, I'm not doing enough, you know? And then that adds to your guilt.
I would agree. In my own personal experience, you know, I right after my first child was born, I ended up deleting Instagram shortly because I remember looking at all these pictures of and videos of these women, and this was really before influencing was a really big thing. Like I feel like influencing is fairly recent, right? But Instagram was around prior to that, and I remember being influenced though by these moms who were starting to put out there and starting to pioneer this realm, and just feeling so bad about like, oh, the pictures of my baby that I took don't look just like this, or the little knickknacks that I found and I'm decorating my house with, those aren't looking quite as cool and creative as theirs. And it was just, I was like beating myself down and trying to look into what was the cause of that. It was pretty obvious. It was, I was comparing myself. I was so bad at it. I still do it now.
Oh yeah. It's so hard not to. You know, it's just like everywhere.
Right.
But you know that, like exactly what you're saying, like that guilt, it starts to just increase your guilt, which only adds to your stress and your anxiety and like makes you insecure, and then that just compounds. It's just like a vicious cycle.
It is. Yeah. And what I really liked that that Jessica Weiland, who's the author of the article, mentioned in hers is that it's important to remember that like this mom guilt isn't a character flaw. This isn't something that like you personally just have and
you didn't
like,
do it to yourself.
It's because you didn't do well. Like you're literally fighting forces all around you that are trying to tell you that you're not finding good work-life balance. Well, it's probably because you need to do this. Or, you didn't make budget this week. It's probably because you need to stop drinking coffee.
Or you need to work harder.
I'm going to drink my coffee.
You need to work harder.
You know, and so like you hear all that and you internalize it and you're like, it's me. I'm not doing enough. And
you know what? I have like this mixed feeling. You ever see those accounts where it's like, oh, I wake up at 4 a.m. so that I can get my workout in, my coffee in, my journaling in before my kids get up. And I'm like, God, I wish I could do that. But then I'm also like, that's a little crazy.
Right. Why do I have to get up at 4 a.m. to get all this stuff done? But like maybe the kids should get up at 4 a.m.
Right.
God, that'd be awful.
But I feel like I see that as accounts a lot.
No, you're right. Well,
it's just another example of like,
you're not doing enough. Why didn't you wake up at 4 a.m.? So are you really embracing all 24 hours of the day, Erin?
I don't need to sleep.
I feel like you're just being, you're taking the easy route.
Yeah, I know. I'm a pansy. What am I going to say?
And it's there's this pressure to just constantly be productive, and there's this, and again, it's not a character flaw, as Jessica points out, which I really appreciated reading because it feels like it, right? Like I know that's exactly how I felt when I first started to try to figure out how to better explore creativity and find ways to find myself.
I think too, just like remembering that you don't have to be productive 100% of the time to make yourself valuable.
Right.
Like that's not what life is about.
No.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
And what I really liked that she talked about is, she was talking about the ideal of like this like good mother, right? Mm-hmm. And she talks about like a little bit of a history of it. So like kind of referencing the article, she talked about in post World War II era, like the ideal wife is like the homemaker, mm-hmm. and like being devoted to your family really kind of began. Mm-hmm. And those generations are still are like within this realm that we live in, right? So they're passing that energy down to us, mm-hmm. Just because that's what they know. Right. That was what they did, mm-hmm. then, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get into like the late 1990s, and you've got this the social media aspect of like pushing like that perfect mom, right?
Well, and I think even before that, probably like 70s, 80s, like women going into the workforce.
Oh, yeah.
And then that split, mm-hmm. between work and home, mm-hmm. and feeling like, but you have to do both.
Yep.
And then adding in the social media aspect too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's only like gotten worse over time.
Oh, yeah. And then like when you talk about like the women going into the workforce at that point in time, like, which was wonderful, but the society didn't create avenues to make it easier to go in the workforce, like childcare. Right. Like, I don't know if you experienced this with your kids, but even when my children were born, trying to get them into a preschool, mm-hmm. there was a waiting list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was a waiting list.
For daycare and preschool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just remember being like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do if my kids can't get in there? Like, I mean, I only have so much time with maternity leave, right? And then, like, fortunately, my in-laws were very, very wonderful and took on a lot of the care after mm-hmm. I went back to work. But it was kind of with the guys that was, or the idea that it was going to be kind of a short stint mm-hmm. until we can get into, daycare and preschool. Right. And it was scary.
It's very scary. And it feels like it falls on the moms for whatever reason, mm-hmm. It feels really stressful. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough, like you, to have a lot of family support, but gosh, I don't know, like, it's just too much.
It really is.
And so I think coming back to why we're here on our podcast, is trying to find those ways to break down some of these barriers and to remember that there's nothing wrong with you, mm-hmm. and it is okay to take time for yourself, and you should. Mm-hmm. If you don't, like, you're not going to have a lot. You just need to find joy, like pockets of joy and happiness that mm-hmm. are just for you, so you can show up as a better woman.
Absolutely. And mm-hmm. I think a part of the mom guilt is also just kind of struggling to figure out who you are past being a mom.
Definitely.
Once you become a mom, like, that kind of is all consuming, right? Mm-hmm. And I think,
I guess that's what I mean by being a better woman. I didn't want to say better woman, because that's not, like, I guess the right phrasing. More like what you're about to say is that finding who you are as a person and what mm-hmm. you enjoy, because that's what life's about. You want to like just self-discovery.
Absolutely, because like being
mm-hmm.
a mom expands you. Yeah. It doesn't end you, right? Yeah. And I think that it can be difficult to fight the feeling of feeling like being a mom ended you, right? Because I feel like you get just so caught up in like the mom fog that you are just like, well, this is what I am now. Mm-hmm. And I talk about how it's so hard to make friends because mm-hmm. it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
I am these two children's mother.
Yep.
That's what I am.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of pull that like hobby piece into there, like hobbies are a really good way to kind of start to get you to start thinking outside of that mom fog of like what you are, and it kind of mm-hmm. helps you like explore who you could mm-hmm. who you want to be, who you could be, and I
think it also makes you more like well-rounded and interesting in the world, so mm-hmm. you can relate to more people.
Mm-hmm. And they help you do there was another thing that she pointed out in there, they kind of help you reframe like rest versus resistance. Oh,
I love that.
And I think it's mm-hmm. important to remember that hobbies are a very small thing that you can do that can kind of help combat mm-hmm. some of that mom. I don't even say some. I want to say a lot mm-hmm. of it, because I will say in my personal mm-hmm. life, I really do believe that hobbies have helped me overcome the mom guilt that I have.
Yeah.
I feel like prior to really getting and prioritizing that self-care for the hobby time, me trying to put something for myself on the calendar felt rough.
Yeah.
It would hurt me. Like I would feel so like remorseful about it. I'd feel mm-hmm. really guilty. I'd be apologetic to my family leading up to it. Yep. I'd be apologetic to my family after I got back. Yeah. And nobody was asking for those apologies. Mm-hmm. It was just me feeling all of that from, my years of being a woman on this earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And feeling the pressures that were around me. But the more that I've explored hobby realm, I feel that I feel when I put that time on the calendar, not only am I not apologizing for it, but I'm also looking forward to it. Like I'm excited about it now because that's like my brief moment of time to kind of do something for myself and get excited for,
And you probably found your family's been excited for you to see it and have joined in on some aspects and they probably have seen like a new side of you, like in a positive way, right?
Yeah, because then suddenly like that mom guilt isn't mom guilt, it's more mom excitement.
Yeah.
Now I have mom excitement. I'm just excited to be, in that time and that energy. And I guarantee that energy is trickling down into my family, as opposed to being like super negative about me time and my family being like, it's okay, really, like, go do it. Now when I go and do those things and come back and I'm excited, like they feel that and they're like, oh, it sounds like an awesome time. Maybe I should try that. Maybe I could do something like that.
Yeah, it's so true. I think it's amazing when you put it in that perspective how far we've come. It is amazing how your brain can just shift a little bit with those small increments. Because I agree with you. Like when we used to schedule these recording sessions, it was like, oh, it feels like such a burden.
Yes.
But it was only a burden like in my brain. It, like nobody, like my husband was super supportive and happy for us to do this, and my kids were occupied. It wasn't a big deal. And now I totally agree with you. It is such a positive thing, and I think I've had more confidence too in some ways, just in life. Yeah, because I think what you're saying, more that it's kind of that fog of guilt, that just like underlying vague feeling of guilt has lifted quite a bit. So I agree. I highly encourage anyone listening to that there is hope to get past the mom guilt, I guess. We're both have done it in a lot of ways. It's still there, but not nearly as heavy as it once was.
I agree. And I think you said in the article that you read that she did give like a couple of ideas to how to combat it, right? So how does one like combat?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I loved how first just naming it, like recognizing that guilt, where is it coming from? And reminding yourself that it is nothing wrong with you, that is like all these external factors that we just touched on that's really causing this guilt. So that's the first thing, is just recognizing that. And then reframing it, your expectations about like focusing on meaningful moments in your life versus all the expectations and trying not to be perfect all the time, and then third is prioritizing the self-care. So reminding yourself that your self-care time, hobby time, is not selfish. It actually gives back to you. It's very selfless in a lot of ways. And to start small is, I think, celebrating small wins and starting small are like going to help you get over that hump of that initial feeling, because that initial feeling, when you start taking that time, is going to be to recoil.
Truly.
And like wait a minute, this is really uncomfortable. It's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if you can get past that hump, like it is going to make such a difference. And reminding yourself that like you're modeling for your family, and is another positive. You're modeling for your kids, like that resilience, and like prioritizing yourself. It's going to set them up to do that as well. And then finally, just setting like boundaries, and learning to set boundaries, which means, it's just, and when we say boundaries, that can be kind of vague and might be seem overwhelming as well. But I think for us, it was simple things like talking to your partner, saying, I'm going to start taking this whatever time it is, 10 minutes a week, 30 minutes a week on this day, scheduling it, I think starting small with those boundaries and really respecting that time, just like you would put down a doctor's appointment on the calendar.
It's exactly like a doctor's appointment.
Like treat it like that, but make it something manageable and like regular too. I think so. Those were all her, like, I guess the breakdown of recommendation.
Yeah. I think you said all of the perfect things that I would have wanted to make sure was in there. I think the only thing that I would want to add as a final note is just remembering that I think negative emotions like mom guilt can fester when you're kind of isolated. And I think when we are in that phase of mom guilt, I think most of us are probably isolated. We're not going out to be with friends. We're not going out to try new hobbies because we're afraid that will take away from our family, right? So it's easy to let that emotion fester. And I think using the tips that you just read, I think that helps you kind of get around more people, more like-minded people who are going through similar things that you might be going through.
Definitely.
Probably most likely are going through. And then when you guys can kind of talk it together, you can kind of find that you're not alone, and then you build this community that really supports you. Not that your family and children don't, because I'm sure that they do. It's just they need you to advocate for yourself. Yeah. And once you start doing that and get around others who can continue to encourage you to advocate for yourself, it just continues to push you on that path of getting rid of that. I would really like it if mom guilt was like stopped at our generation, and then like nice? Our children will never experience like that kind of guilt, right?
Yeah, we're redefining that.
Yes, I think like let's just all work together to just stop. The buck stops here.
That's right. That's right.
We're done. It's not going anywhere else.
That's right. What they call it, generational trauma.
Yes!
Right? Let's get rid of that.
Let's get rid of God. That one's the worst one. Let's get rid of that one.
Yes. So I guess as a final thought, just remember, hobby time, self-care time is not selfish.
No.
There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
The guilt is totally normal, but it is, we can overcome it, and we're here to help you.
Yes. So please check out the article. Yes. We'll make sure to link it in the episode. It's a quick read, and it's a really great read. It really does have like some really thoughtful points in there. But otherwise, thanks for stopping by today.
Yes. Check us out next time.
Bye.